afternoon. My name is Pastor Matt, and grace and peace to you from the congregation of St. Paul's United Church of Christ in Somerset, Pennsylvania. I'm here to welcome you on Holy Thursday, also known as Maundy Thursday, and we have a couple services coming up this Holy Week. We have our first service tonight at 7 o'clock. You can see it here on Facebook and later posted on YouTube. And then tomorrow night we have our Good Friday service as well. And then our Easter service, 6:30 a.m. is a sunrise service for you early risers, and 9:30 is our regular service. We have a very special treat ahead for you here in just a few seconds. Reverend Dr. Joe Beer, a colleague and friend of mine, has done theater for a number of years and has presented different characters, biblical characters and otherwise, from time to time, and he has offered to bring to us today one of the characters that played a major role in Jesus' life, especially during Holy Week. So without further ado, we have Reverend Dr. Joe Beer portraying Judas.
I am Judas from Carolith in Judea. I was one of the first disciples of Jesus. To you, my name means betrayal. But before you pass sentence on me, let me tell you a few things, and then let's see if you're really any different than I am. Now, I was the only one of Jesus' disciples who was from Judea. All of the rest were from Galilee, and most of them were related to one another, and they were all jealous of me. Because besides Matthew, we were the only ones who had a formal education. Jesus saw that I had knowledge. He saw that I was good with money. So he made me treasurer of the group. But to tell you how unusual Jesus was is that he chose us. This is not the way rabbis did that. Most times students went to the rabbi and asked if they could be their student. And they even paid for this, but no, Jesus chose us. We did not choose him. And like all of the other 11, I was greatly attracted to him. For he spoke differently. He didn't go around quoting other rabbis from the past. He would say, "Oh, you have heard it said, but now I say to you." And he talked with authority. It was as if he was Elijah talking to the prophets of Baal. Such wonderful words he spoke. And soon I saw that this man was different than any teacher that had come in my time. And so I listened very closely to his words, and I saw that in his words there was authority. He had courage. He had conviction. He had power. And he easily demonstrated this power by turning a young boy's lunch into bread and fish for more than 5,000 people, by healing the lame and the lepers, driving out evil spirits. And I will never forget, the time we came to the city of Nain, and we met this funeral procession that was coming out of the city. Now, he had gone there to get some rest because we had been traveling quite a bit. And Jesus was very tired. But when we met the funeral procession, which the dead man was the only son of a woman who was a widow, Jesus stopped. We all did, and we thought, "Oh no, please, Jesus, just let the procession pass and let us go into the city and rest." But no. Jesus went up to the widow and said, "Don't cry." And then he went over and did something no rabbi would do. He touched the coffin. Immediately he became impure and would not be able to be clean again until he had gone through a ritual of purification. But then it didn't matter to him. And he said, "I tell you, get up." And the boy sat up. And he gave him back to the mother, and there was a cry amongst the crowd. Who is this man that he has this sort of power? And I finally said to myself, yes, Jesus is the Messiah. He is the one that we have looked for. How excited we were, how happy. And then when Jesus decided to go to Jerusalem and he decided to follow the prophecy of Zechariah that we all knew and ride into the city on a donkey, the prophecy saying the one who would come in the name of the Lord will be riding this way, the expectations of all of us rose. Here was the one coming in to take over the city, to lead us against the mighty Romans, reestablish the kingdom of David. He was the son of David. And I was even more encouraged when he went into the table and overturned the tables of the money changers and chased out the sacrificial animals. But then after that, it seemed like he changed. He became different. He would go to the temple and teach very quietly, and every evening we would go out to Bethany, and he began to talk about death and the end of the age. And then when we were together and Mary poured the perfume over his feet, and I said, oh, this money for that perfume could have been used to help the poor, he really yelled at me and said, she has done a wonderful thing. She has prepared my body for burial. And I thought, oh no. And he began to talk to me about the devil and evil. And I thought, now here is the one who has become not the Son of God, but this morbid, sad rabbi. So I became very confused, and I thought, this Jesus of Nazareth is nothing that I thought he is. He's a phony like all the others that have come before him. At least some of those other ones fought the Romans, even though they died. So I thought, I have to do something. And so I did what you all know I did. I went to the authorities and betrayed him to them, thinking that if he would talk to them, he would show that power, that courage, that conviction. So they arrested him in the garden that I led him to. They tried him, and in our great Sanhedrin, what did they do? They accused him and sent him to Pilate. And at that point, I knew I had committed the most unpardonable sin. I had turned away from my Savior, from the one who had really showed us the way. But before you think that I am the villain of the ages, let me ask you a question. What do you think? Where do you think your Lord is when suddenly you or one of your family members is given a diagnosis of terminal illness? Where is your Lord? And what do you think about your Lord when you hear about a young person who has their life ahead of them who gets killed in an accident? What are you thinking now about where the Lord is during this pandemic? And what about this idea of your enemies? I mean, if your enemy gets ahead of you or is more prosperous than you, do you really absorb and follow, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, repay evil with good? See, think about it. Are you any different than I? Think about all of the people who have been killed in the name of Christ over the centuries. And how many times you have thought you wanted your enemies vanquished. So do you not betray as I did? They gave me 30 pieces of silver for betraying Jesus, the price to redeem one slave. What will redeem us? What will redeem you? Oh, you may say I am guilty and I go to church and I confess my sins by reading some confession out of a hymnal and everything is all right. Well, it is not. Jesus said, anyone who comes to me, I will not turn away. I did not believe that. But it's not too late.